stream is cleared for takeoff.
Hi everyone, welcome to our first developer stream of the year. We hope you had an awesome, relaxing holiday season. Thank you for allowing us the same, but we are really happy to be back today to talk about what we've been up to, answer some of your questions, showcase what we have coming up in the near future. My name is Jayne Reynolds. I am the Senior Community Manager for Microsoft Flight Simulator and your moderator for today. Of course, below me, we have our three lovely flight sim devs. On our left, we have Jorg Neumann, head of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Hi, Jorg. How are you?
Hi, great. Happy 2023. Super late, but hi.
Thanks, Jorg. In the middle, we have Sebastian Wloch, CEO and co-founder of Asobo Studios. Seb, how are you today?
Hello, I'm great.
Good, glad you can join us. And to your right, we have Martial Boussard, executive producer at Asobo Studios. Welcome back, Martial.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Yay. A few reminders today for you, chat. We have, I believe, 3 Q&A sessions throughout the stream dedicated to various topics. We solicited lots of feedback from the forums this month, so when we get to those categories, of course, feel free as well to ask some live questions, and we'll do our best to answer some of those as we get to it. But we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to kick it off here to Jorg to start us off on our presentation.
Yeah, hi, everyone. It's been a few months. Great to be back. I saw in the pre-chat some stuff that I want to also acknowledge. First one, it is the last Boeing 747, 50 years. So I remember the first time I saw one of those things. Amazing. Anyway, sort of a bittersweet moment, I think. Another thing, somebody was just asking about the marketplace situation, and we had lots of discussions about it. We'll talk about it today. It's one of the last Q&As. So definitely going to talk about this. But anyways, having said that, so I hope everybody had a good time off or spent time with family and friends. From what we've seen, it seemed like you had a good time with the 40th anniversary edition. I thought it would be fun to share something with you. It's kind of an interesting stat. So we launched obviously on 11/11. And since then, we almost had about 20 million flights just on the 40th anniversary planes. Really nice. So the top one was the A310, not too surprising, from iniBuilds, great plane, followed by the 2 helicopters. Then the DC-3 from Airplane Heaven got a ton of love and usage, which was wonderful. And then even all the other planes, Spruce Goose all the way down and to the oldest one, the Wright Flyer, had like really great engagement. So hopefully you had a good time. It seems like you did. And so our team, as Jayne said, we took a little bit of time off, which was great. The team has been fully back to work, obviously, since the new year. I read somewhere in the forums that the weekly updates were a little light. That's true, but it'll stop this. It'll just resume as it was last year, this week. So expect that to
Awesome.
be back on the DR and the FS are going to be fully there. So about 2023, as I said before the break, it's going to be super cool. AAU1 was yesterday. I mean, many of you were in the flight, and the feedback on the flight was great. Collaboration between working title Asobo and the community, I thought, was outstanding. And it really produced something really good. I think the 3 planes are substantively better. I think the avionics, for those of you who tried them, are so much more realistic. It's really wonderful. And yeah, so that was the beginning of the year. And let's look at our roadmap real quick. Last time we talked about, so all the way at the bottom, AAU1, that's already launched. And then the next thing that's coming is New Zealand. We moved it back a few times, mostly because of a PR event we're doing actually in New Zealand. That I'm flying to New Zealand, folks. But anyways, it's on the 23rd. I think in New Zealand it's going to be the 24th. I think it's going to be lovely. I wanted to say I spent a lot of time in New Zealand, both virtually and sort of in the news. Heart goes out to the people in Auckland with the flooding. It seems like it's getting a little bit better, but it was dicey seeing those cars floating around the streets. But anyways, so New Zealand's come. We're going to talk about this in a minute, and then we talked about the Caribou also, and we have the developer here, so it's going to be fun. So here we are. I put some slides together. World Update 12. Beautiful Milford Sound. So let's go through this a little bit. Yeah, so I mean, when we talked about it in November, this was the plan. New aerials in DEM, 4 bespoke airports, 30 POIs, 6 photogrammetry cities, and then our typical set of landing challenges, bush trips, and discovery flights. We added to that, and maybe I just want to explain. So here's the DEM. Sometimes you guys like to see this. So we were super fortunate. The New Zealand government worked with us, and right before we had to lock down content, they released the top tip of the North Island, the top tip of the South Island, and we integrated all that data. We have a ton of the country now at 1 meter DEM. And if you look at the next 2 pictures, I just wanted to show just how good this looks. And it's pretty awesome. That's the only word I have for this. It looks just great. So that's to DEM. Airports, we wanted to make 4, and then upon further reflection, I said, can we not add a few? So I reached out to ATSimulations, and his team said yes. And so we made a few, or rather, NZA made a few for you that are coming up with the update, and then Orbx added another one. So we ended up with 9, which I think is exciting. There's some pictures. Jayne can just cruise through it. Couldn't resist making pictures, There we go.
Everyone loves a good airport photo.
That's interesting. Yeah. All right. So that's coming. And then points of interest, we said we're going to make 30. Jayne, if you start clicking, we got really ambitious. We also talked to people in New Zealand some more and what was really important to them. So we added some more. All of this was done by Orbx, and we ended up, I think, with 62. I want to say that that's true, but a lot. And really cool ones. And there's like animating ski lifts and stuff. And Holger and his team did an awesome job putting details in and really making it like dolphins jumping and stuff's cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing some people in chat saying we're going too fast, but this will be on YouTube, and you can press the pause button once it's on there and stare and take screenshots to your heart's content.
So then on the photogrammetry, here's Wellington. We had planned on 6. We ended up making 7. Lots of work. There's a new team actually at Gaia helping us with that to edit. Remember the Canada update? We had some things with bridges and some buildings didn't look amazing. So Gaia has now a team that helps us with that, and they're doing a great job. So the New Zealand cities look top notch. And then at the very end, I couldn't resist. I talked to our data provider Vexcel and I said, "We're doing New Zealand. Come on now. We need to fly a plane over Hobbiton." So they did over the Christmas holidays. We got the data super late, but I just couldn't. Somehow at some point I said, we can't ship New Zealand without Hobbiton. It's just not a thing. So anyways.
For sure.
So we have Hobbiton. It looked good. And then activities, we had 9 planned and we ended up doing 10. Here's a little bit of detail. For the first time, we're adding, which is really nice, we're adding gliders and helicopters to some of these things. Give a little bit more diversity. So you can just scroll through it, Jayne. So again, the team got excited. We did a little bit more than we intended to, but I think the package is wonderful. And so as I said, it comes out in 3 weeks.
Perfection. Awesome. Thanks, Jorg. And coupled along with that, we have...
Local Legend 8, the de Havilland DHC-4 Caribou, made by Orbx. And here's a image of it, maybe. Yep, here it is. And I think we have a little bit of the trailer. I wanted to tease a little today. They're not quite done, by the way. We're still team's still working on it, but you'll get a sense.
Yeah, here is a teaser for the Caribou. All right. Felt like I was just getting started, but
I know.
There's a little bit of for you.
We have done better. We have the actual development lead here, Ben McClintock.
Ben, welcome to our Dev Q&A. Glad to have you. And we're excited because you're going to show us a little bit in the sim of what we got going on here. You're sharing your screen. We're taking a look inside the cockpit.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a few different parts of the Caribou I want to show everyone. So just a bit of background on the Caribou. It's the ultimate short takeoff and landing machine. It first flew in 1958 and entered service in 1961. Most Caribou went into military service, but some performed civil missions. And the Caribou served with the Royal Australian Air Force up until 2009. So just taking a tour of the main panel here, you can really see the level of detail we've gone into. You can tell that this panel has had multiple layers of paint applied over the years, and that's true to some of the reference aircraft that we had. It's got a radio pedestal in the center that slides in and out to help the pilots get into their seat, because there's actually quite a step up from the main cabin to get to where the pilots sit. Some of the details on the overhead, so you can see all of the cables going into the throttle. The throttle has the friction lock modeled, so sorry, the gust lock, so that stops the throttle from moving fully when you're on the ground. If we turn around behind very slowly, you can see we've got things like the circuit breaker panel, and we actually tried to make quite a few of these work. So just as an example of that, if we change the time to night a little bit more, we'll leave the battery on. Which is there. And you can also see the night environment of the Caribou is pretty good as well.
Mm.
If we look back in the cabin, for example, one of the circuit breakers is the cabin light. So you can see, of course, that transit on and off. And while we're here, I think we should open the rear cargo door. So that's fully modeled as well. And the procedure is quite simple. Cargo door master switch on. We can start opening the ramp at the bottom and also the door section at the top.
Mm.
We'll go outside to take a look at that, probably with a bit more light. So small detail with the cargo door, but in a few seconds you'll see this 15-degree light come on. So this is primarily used when they're dropping cargo from the air, like skydivers or other airdrops. And getting past this is simple. Just use the aptly named 15-degree limit override, and you can see that light will go off, and the door will continue going down. So taking a quick look through the cabin here, the Caribou was originally designed as a military cargo and troop carrier, and we've modeled the cabin with a mixed layout. So it can either fit 32 troops with their gear, 8,000 pounds of cargo, or 22 stretchers. All right, let's take a quick look outside the aircraft. So this is one of the 7 liveries we've included with the Caribou. Similar to the interior, the exterior is based on laser scans of the aircraft alongside thousands of pictures that helped our team recreate it in detail. You can see just some of the details, especially in the landing gear, or if we take a peek inside the engine, you can see we've modeled lots of those details. One of the really unique features of the Caribou, I guess, is the wing has both anhedral and dihedral components, and it has flaps that are massive. So I'll quickly start the engines with Control E, but you can also use the checklist or start it by flicking the switches. You can't hear it, but the sounds are really, really good. And I'll start lowering the flaps, and you'll be able to see that even the ailerons are part of the flap system, and the inboard flaps here go down to 60 degrees, which is part of the reason the Caribou has such a good slow speed performance. It stalls at 59 knots, which is only 10 knots more than the Cessna 172. And when you're standing next to the Caribou, you can really see just how tall it is. So with the real reference aircraft, I stood here and was thinking, wow, this is actually quite big. So the tail, the total height of the aircraft is 31 feet, or just under 10 meters. So if we've got some time left still, I'd like to really quickly take off just to show the short field performance. And I'll just quickly close the doors because it would be embarrassing if the pilot forgot that. And we'll just taxi over to the runway really quickly. So this airport is Shell Harbour Airport, which is where this particular Caribou is based, one of our reference aircraft. So we spent a lot of time getting the flight model right for the Caribou, especially at slow speeds. Things like running so many both manual and automated tests to make sure it flies as close as we could get it. And once we line up here, we'll be able to see just how fast it can take off. So on my PC, I can hear the sound. There's two Pratt & Whitney R2000 twin Wasps, with each engine delivering up to 1,450 horsepower.
That was a quick takeoff.
You know, see, yeah, it's really fast. There's a few more maneuvers that I won't show on the stream because I'll probably crash, but the real Caribou pilots at every air show, they do the wheelbarrowing maneuver, which is where you can have it rest on the nose gear and drive along the runway on just the nose gear. But that's a fun thing that people can try at home. So yeah, this is the Caribou.
Incredible. Yeah, highly detailed. Thank you so much, Ben and the team at Orbx. We're very excited to see this in the sim soon, the release. Thank you for joining us, Ben, of course. Looks like chat is excited as we are for it. And it's great to see it working in the sim.
It's been fun to work on. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.
Great job, Ben. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks.
All right. So, with that in mind, we will move on to our Q&A segment 1, all about the world. So we have some questions here that we gathered in the forums. Chat, feel free to ask some questions as well. We're going to cover some questions about New Zealand, some POIs, airports. We'll go ahead and get started with those. The first question I have here is related to World Update New Zealand. Will this World Update make the Orbx New Zealand mesh redundant or cause any conflicts that we should know about?
So I would say it this way. Holger from Orbx, who's the main geospatial guy, he did both. So I'm pretty sure that it'll work. And frankly, I think Orbx always does a really great job with their product. So I'm not aware that there's any issues at all. Plus they add a bunch of cool, extra things, So I don't predict there's anything.
Awesome. Another question for the forums is, will we see any photogrammetry issues that we have seen in the past, such as Canada? Yeah, what are you doing to ensure updated PG looks good and maybe not messier than how it started?
Yeah. So Canada was interesting. It was the first time that we had a previous photogrammetry city from 2013, and then we had a new scan from 2020 and 21. And some instances were actually not as good. The city was much more accurate, again, because it was like, I don't know, 10 years later or more. But that can happen. There was some, I took that feedback to heart, right? I'm very close to these world updates, and it bummed me out to no end that there was some unhappiness. So we did the CN Tower and I think Calgary Tower. We fixed those. And there's a big effort now going on for bridges. Because I heard this, honestly, since we've launched, that those of us who fly, we like to fly under bridges, that the bridges are essentially, solid. So we have now identified all the bridges that need to be fixed, and the team has started working on it. It's a pretty big backlog going all the way to World Update 1 in Japan, So, but to speak about the future, so New Zealand, as I said earlier, we have a new team that is doing a really good job editing before we release. And we are also working on updates to the Canadian cities. For example, Calgary just got finished. We might ship this instantaneously because it's just essentially sitting on a server. So that will come out very soon. Several other ones have been fixed, and some of the other ones still need work. But there's teams working on it. But going forward, this won't happen.
Thank you, Jorg. So some POIs released in world updates will disappear at a distance that are sometimes shorter than it should be, even when their screen size is still quite large, like Devil's Tower and Dover Cliffs. Can you make changes to ensure they don't pop into view when you get close?
So this is linked to LOD management. Seb, would you like to talk about that?
Hello. Yes. So yes, we can look into this. So I think this is more about maximum display distance for very large objects, rather than exactly how the LOD switch. And yeah, we will look into this. The basically we have a maximum distance at which we stream anything. If I remember well, it's a few kilometers, like 50 kilometers or something. But very large objects like a mountain may be popping in still at that distance. So yeah, we'll look into this. Initially, the mesh LOD system was really built for cars, buildings, lights, not for mountains. So I think that's why it's causing issues.
Thanks. And has any thought been given to customizing or darkening the labels on points of interest to make them more customizable, such as different colors? The white print can be unreadable sometimes in the light sky.
Yes, so we've seen that. We've seen this feedback at least, and so we already did some work to make every UI customizable, if that's in English, and especially we did some efforts. So some people who have some site problems can tweak the UI. So I think we should go deeper, and this very part of UI has not been updated. So I think we should do that, update the UI, so even the POIs can be tweaked.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this is, when we talked about it, Marcel and I, it sounds a little bit like we have a strike team that's called G4E, Gaming for Everyone, where we make adjustments to font colors, font sizes, and those types of things, make sure that everybody can really see and enjoy. It seems like this is related, so I think this seems like a good idea, and we'll scope it out.
Yeah. Going back to photogrammetry in chat, are there any updates? Is London a part of the photogrammetry that's being reworked, as previously mentioned?
You want me to talk about stuff in the future, really? So basically, London was purchased by from a company that is not our normal pipeline, and there were in fact some issues. We ended up making a bunch of POIs to make it acceptable, but it wasn't great, right? It looks sort of like the end of days a little bit. So yeah, we are working on the new London, but I'm not quite sure yet when we're going to launch it.
Okay.
I saw some other stuff, by the way. I mean, just a general set of statements. When people say, hey, how about Poland? Or at the very beginning, somebody said something about the Caribbean. The intent is to update the entire world. We are just waiting to get the right data. And that can take time. Sometimes it's entangled with some government stuff, but that's the intent. So don't worry about it. At some point, we'll do Poland. I'm not quite sure exactly when yet.
Okay, thanks. All right, we have some airport questions here. I think a lot of these might be for you, Martial. First one is, a lot of airports around the world are missing taxiway signs, and in other cases, the taxiways that are there are labeled incorrectly. This can make it difficult to accept taxi instructions from ATC, and even more difficult when using a network like VATSIM. Is there something blocking this from being fixed?
So what's blocking is the lack of data. So in order to get more data, we're going to introduce a new tool, which is called internally, and I think that would be the final name, World Hub. And the World Hub is a tool that allows people to do some editing on the world, and especially on airports. So basically, everybody who sees some discrepancies between what we have in the sim and what is intended should be able to do the tweak using this tool. So far, this tool is in test. It's going to be shared with more than 50 people. And if everything's going well, that will be shared with any of you.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the World Hub beta.
Beta.
Next question. Airport charts will tell you if you have 2 lights or 4 light pappies and whether they are on the right or left side and what kind of approach lighting they have. This can often be wrong in the sim. Where does MSFS get this data from? Is there anything that can be done to update it globally?
So also here, there's a lack of data, not because the data does not exist, but so far, the only base that we found are based on charts, images, JPEG or PDFs. So it's super hard for us to extract those informations into a data that can be used within the sim. So there's two solutions here. If anybody here knows a database that could be provided to us that could help us to get this information, we would love to take that. And also, the second solution is the World Hub. As I was saying, we are trying to expose everything regarding airports, and the PAPI light would be part of that. So everybody will be able to change any incorrect information we have in the game.
Okay. And do you know how the PAPI lights were initially added to the sim?
Some of these data came from Orbx because they helped us to do the database photos. So I don't know exactly how many airports we did using Orbx help, but it was lots.
About 500.
Yes.
We're at World Update 12 now. We typically did about 100 per World Update, so you can do the math. But we need to look at it. I saw the OSM comment, so thanks for that. I mean, that's serious, right? We are asking you, if you know databases that can help us, please let us know. We've been looking.
Yes. And if anyone's wondering how to get that information, you can post it on the forums or shoot me a DM on the forums, and I will see that. So, thank you. All right. Next question here. So there are 200 plus vote missing airport reports, MPTO and LTFM, so Turkmen and Istanbul. When can we expect these airports to be in the sim?
Yeah, Istanbul is a big deal. I was actually unaware of the one in South America, right?
Panama, I think. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. So we'll look into it. Marcel, anything?
No.
So Istanbul, we shipped in 2020, so it was still. I think at the time it was still Ataturk, and we need to move that over, right? I mean, it's a big hub.
Next question I have: has the team figured out a way to ensure that scenery tears don't happen at airport? Scenery tears meaning the little bumps that you can see on the runway occasionally that might cause your plane to crash or stop.
Yes, so I know that ESSA has been taken as an example, and this was linked to a bad edition, so I think that will be fixed for Sim Update 12. And for some others, sometimes it's also has to deal with some issues we're getting with stints when we've got edges which are not very well welded. So also we are working on that. But I've seen on the forums that people were complaining about ESA, and that should be fixed in Stockholm.
Yeah, so it seems it's all manual, and there's not like a global fix.
So far, everything is manual, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Will more handcrafted airports be added over time to regions of the world for which world updates have already occurred?
Yes.
Answer. Is there any news for Central America handcrafted airports and any world update for this region? I think I kind of already answered that.
Yes.
In a way. All right, next question.
All the secrets out.
This
Come on.
Some third-party airports sometimes have a problem, huge problems, or a CTD after a world update for the region after it's been released. Would you ever think about deactivating or removing them from the marketplace while they're broken and then reactivate them when they're fixed?
I mean, I guess it's on me. Just to say that, some of the, for example, when Asobo makes airports, or when all the airports Asobo made were made under certain memory budgets. And when we talk to Gaia or Orbx or other partners, they also stick to these memory budgets. And some of these, some of the, payware airports are interesting. When we get a package that's 18 gigabyte, we're all looking at it like, whoa, it's pretty big. How is that going to fit in memory? Or it just brings down the performance on PC. So I think there's some people that are paying a lot of attention to the SDK, and some probably saying, hey, we can do better. But better is oftentimes more, and more is oftentimes not so good. And then it can crash, right? So there's things like that quite frequently. And whether or not we should really turn it off in the marketplace, it's a good question. You mean turn it off for new purchasers is what you're really saying. I'll do this. I think it's a generally fair comment. And I saw stuff like that in the big marketplace thread this weekend. So yeah. It's something I'll talk to the marketplace team. We just need to talk it through.
Definitely. Will we see a major revision or a V2 to the current Deluxe and Premium Deluxe airports in the future?
In the future, yes, but like when is sort of the question. Yeah, I mean there is a thought that we're going to update all those. I'll get to that a little bit later in a different context. So if we can pick this up then.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, that was a lot of quick questions there, all about the world and airports. So thank you to you three for answering those questions. We're going to move on to a small section to talk a little bit about Sim Update 12.
Right. So Sim Update 12, it's targeted for March 14th right now. We're not 100% sure we're going to hit that date, but the team is trying hard and focused on it. It's focused on stability again. So I would say one of the things I probably didn't say earlier, one of the things that made me really happy with the AAU1 was basically working title added a bunch of stuff, really good, realistic things to the avionics. And guess what happened? It's one of those things. It added a bunch of memory and it got kaput. And so that triggered an investigation into memory again. And I think it yielded some really great findings by both teams that then collaborated on making that really more stable. And stability is a key objective for any software, including ours. It's gotten really good numbers now, but I think there's a little bit more to go. So there's a strike team at Asobo working on stability. And then somebody was just asking this earlier. When Sim Update 12 will include 2 new languages, Korean and Turkish. So,
Awesome.
And we also took it upon ourselves to say, let's fix all the niggly things that people have commented or we found from the 40th content and also from previous world updates. So there's currently a massive effort going on to fixing things and polishing things. I remember a producer at Asobo said something like there's 200 packages or something, which is a ton. We have a big spreadsheet that gets updated every day, and that's cool that comes in Sim Update 12. And then somebody else was asking about WASM, and WASM is on track. I say that like this: it is on track.
On Xbox.
That is for Xbox, right? That basically complex planes can now work on Xbox. So we think that's Sim Update 12, and then Seb has cool stuff. Look at all that.
Yeah, so I mean, there's as usually Sim Updates have a lot of improvements and fixes. So I'm going over just a few of them for the flight model. So we did get so helicopters are out. We did get a lot of feedback and requests. So there's quite a few helicopter additions. So I can list some examples. For example, turbines can now have a governor. There is support for engine trim has been added. There is a lot of constants which were basically hard-coded have been added to the files for people who make helicopters to be able to change them. So it's a big list of improvements on helicopters. Also, we have added, we've increased the limit. I think it's been requested for quite a while. Maximum number of engines. I think it was 4.
Used to be 4.
Yeah. A lot of people have been asking for 6 or 8, and well, it's work. So we said, okay, if we do the work, let's do it just once, and so we moved it up to 16. It took some time, so it's out just now. The reason is that when you have 16 engines, and especially when you're using the propellers and the new propeller sim, which has a lot of surfaces for each propeller blade, it just adds a ton of stuff, and so we had to do optimizations to fit everything in memory. So that's done, and you can now go up to 16 engines. There was an issue on some planes. The legacy flight model had a bug for a while now. That's also going to be fixed. We have had a lot of feedback and did a lot of improvements on the gliders on the planes, and thermals and turbulence. So yes, we for the gliders and also just to improve turbulence and thermals, we added a visualization in the previous update. Which basically allowed people to see what was going on in the air, and so obviously just triggered a lot of feedback because turbulence and thermals can't be seen, so it's always a bit subjective. Now there's images, there's people who are seeing what was going on, and so we got a ton of feedback, a ton of very useful feedback. I'm super thankful. Everybody here is super happy about everything we got. Some people actually wrote really long comments and we picked about, I would say, maybe 20 different subjects. So a lot of people have said the same things. And in some of the 12, out of the 20, about 10 improvements are coming. The 10 others, some are just, some things are just redundant or not correct, and some we just can't do. Here's an image of some of the 12 turbulences. So here you can see some of the improvements. So for example, previously, a lot of it comes together with clouds or no clouds. So basically, thermals are generated when hot air goes up, and for whatever reason, air is hot because the sun heats it up, or because there was a parking lot and the ground is very hot. Something heats up the air and goes up. And when the air goes high enough, if it's humid, it goes into a limit where basically the water condensate and it creates clouds. So there's been a lot of feedback about, hey, how high should the thermals go when there's clouds, when there's no clouds? Should they go higher than clouds? And this has been all improved. So here you can see on the screen that thermals which are caused by heat, but which are not going high enough, don't cause clouds anymore. So actually it's a reverse, right? When there is no clouds, thermals don't go as high. And every cloud, depending on the density, the thickness of the cloud, has a thermal going about as high as the cloud goes high. Also, it's been aligned. Thermals are better aligned with clouds. It's not always perfect. And you need to. One thing that needs to be understood is that this is just a visualization where we basically throw particles in the air and let them move, and they end up where they end up. But it doesn't mean that the thermal perfectly stops where the particle stops. So the thermals should be aligned with the clouds. There's also been improvements on when it's raining, the thermals are different. We checked the energy, total energy is better. So now there's just as much air going up than air is going down. So it's all been improved. One important feedback was also maximum thermal. It was limited to about 1,500 to 2,000 feet per minute. Problem is that when you were in a big TCU and at the limit, it was removing all bumps because you were just always limited at 2,000. So that's people found that. We completely removed any limit to vertical wind, and so it can go up as high as the real world thermals. The highest I recorded was 9,000 feet up per minute, which is a lot. And so globally, integrating all these fixes further increase turbulence. And we know that a lot of people. So some people say, "Oh, the turbulences are great; they're super realistic." And a lot of people don't like them because, well, they shake the plane around a lot. So another request we implemented in Simulate 12 is an option to control how much turbulence you get. So here you can see basically with setting to realistic. This is the thunderstorm preset. I just moved the cloud up, removed the rain, set it to 21st of June. So it's basically a high turbulence environment. So you can see the plane shaking quite a bit, flying over a city. And you will see a new addition to the assistance menu in the piloting. If you go all the way down, you can see turbulence. We have set it 3 levels, so realistic, medium, and low. And I'm setting to low, and you will see the plane doesn't move at all. So this does not remove wind, gusts, or thermals. We need to keep these because otherwise you can't fly gliders or you can't do crosswind landings. It's a low-pass filter which just removes it makes the wind change slower. It's all more stable. And so it feels like super stable, but you still get all the weather and wind conditions. It just removes the shakiness. It works pretty well. It has been tested thoroughly, so this is also coming.
Yeah, the Simulator 12 flight is coming soon. There was actually a big discussion today. It's the contention between finishing up World Update 12. There's a couple of things. For example, Howitton has a couple of issues versus this flighting start of Sim Update 12. But it's within a few weeks. I wouldn't say days, but it's probably a few weeks. But please join. It's super helpful to have you there and get your feedback. It was great. AAU 1 was a success because of all that feedback.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and move along to our famous Flyer 5.
Oh, yes. You remember this conversation? Like, I think it took us 2.5 years to get a contract with Antonov. We got it. And it makes me so happy because the plane has been honestly just sitting there waiting to be released. So let's look at I think there's a little picture and then we have a teaser.
Yep, here's the picture. And we will show you a quick teaser right now. All right. Awesome teaser. But we have even more because we have a special guest joining us today. We have Andrei from ATSimulations, who's been working on the AN2. Welcome. How are you?
We can.
Yes, we can hear you now. Yep.
So yeah, I'm a developer of ATSimulations, and actually we were working together with the Asobo Studio and with Microsoft on this project.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so when yesterday Jorg asks me to tell you about what is interesting about plane, why do I love it, and actually I think about it, and I can say that two things actually. So main thing is about its spirit. So it's like a wide body, wide fuselage bushcraft, bush plane. So you can land it everywhere, on gravel, on grass, on something like that. And second thing is about, it's divided into many actually. It's about its technical, about the decisions they make to make it fly so good. So, for example, on this screenshot, you may see a lot of switches, and there are a lot of electric stuff there. Actually, maybe you know, but the plane did its first flight in 1947, so it was quite modern for that time. Electric trimmers, electric flaps may be okay, but for example, electric cold flaps. So since the plates on engine, when you need to make it a little bit colder, so the electric trims, all trims are electric. So electric motors are installed in rudders, for example, and so in even electric radiator shutters on this screen, you may see it's open. So yeah, so it's electric too. Yeah, and it's only thing. For example, it has maybe next screenshot shows that it's quite unique cargo door. So it's genius decision when they use a regular passenger door as a support for the cargo door. So I never faced it with things like that anywhere else and on any another aircraft. And one more thing I can tell about is, for example, to make its flying so good, to make its stall aircraft, to make its stall speed so small or even unreachable, stall is slats. Slats is such things on the lead edge of the wing, on each wing, and they are automatic. And automatic not because of electronics, but because of physics, because of nature. So they are retract automatically because of wind flow on slow speed. They rise automatically and makes plane not to stall. So quite unique aircraft. And this is a cargo door, yeah. Yep. So quite unique aircraft, and actually we are miss it really much in the flights. Yep. Well, as about model itself, I can say that almost all things are moving, interactable in this cockpit, except maybe a couple, two things, which is about platform limits or something like that. So yeah, I'm sure you would be happy flying in this. Yeah, and finally, as Jorg said, Antonov allows us to release it, so we are happy about that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrei. I'm just going through the last
Thank
photo
you for
here.
inviting.
Great screenshots.
Thank you.
We are thrilled, and I know so many people in the community have, of course, been constantly asking about the An-2. So it's great to have you on and talking about it, and we're glad that we can finally release it soon. So thank you for joining us, Andrei, and for your work here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we are moving into our second Q&A here about missions. We got some feedback, really great feedback from missions from the community this month. So thank you for participating. If you responded in those threads, it's really great to get a sense of what you're satisfied with, what you're dissatisfied with, overall wish list items. We got that for both missions and localization this year. So we'll go through a couple questions I saw people ask here. Get started on some mission questions. I think this one is for you, Jorg, to hear your thoughts on. They said, I know that MSFS is a simulator and it's a platform, but I don't think that means one should disregard a game element or use systems or methods used in other games. I think missions, bush trips, and adventures done in a good and engaging way could please everyone from beginner to hardcore simmer. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Amen. Yeah, I agree. Like, I think we all agree. I mean, honestly, Flight Sim 10 had some cool stuff. Like, if you remember, I still remember like the bush mission with the pyramid and all that stuff. Yeah, it's been part of the franchise. It's just it's never been quite a big part of the franchise, but I think the adventure of flight and the purposes of planes is an important thing. So it's on our mind as well. I would just say it that way. By the way, somebody was just saying, when is the An-2 coming, after like waiting for a year plus? Yeah, March 14th. Well, whenever Sim Update 14 comes out, that Sim Update 12 comes out that day. Trust me, Andrei wants to see his creation in your hands. Trust me, we've been talking about this for a long time. But yeah, missions. I think missions are cool, and there's a lot to be done. How about that?
Awesome. And I think one of the top feedback items we got is, seems like people are really loving the variety of missions, but they listed out quite a few number of bugs or different things wrong, like the descriptions could have been better, and they wanted your opinion on if that will be improved in the future.
Okay, so some of the bugs are linked to the sim itself, and it's definitely in our bug base. and this is planned to be fixed. Some are linked also to like the descriptions. These are links to the mission themselves. I mean the edition that has been done by partners, and so I can't tell for them.
But we can't say. Remember when I said that we're making all kinds of content fixes in Sim Update 12? It's part of that. Perfect Flight did a bunch of these missions. There's some other people that made missions, and we are going through it.
Okay, fantastic. Someone else says, I loved the introduction of some of the older FS missions, which included voice actors. Will we see more of those types of missions?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're talking about this quite a bit. Whether or not it's the exact same way with voice, I think I have some fundamental beliefs, like the FSX missions. They were cool, and I played them once, and then I didn't play them until probably like a year or two ago. I think something a little bit more robust would be nice. But yeah, I mean, I think it's all about the joy and adventure of aviation and the jobs in aviation, those types of things. At some point, we're going to look at all this. It's in our heads.
Another question for missions: will the community be better involved in the future? Reading through the thread, because we made the thread, they believe the answer is probably yes. But they say for specific things, it'd be really nice to use resources that are available in the community. There's so many experienced mission authers.
Yes. So here's the thing: we've actually been looking. So we, as you saw, like in some ways, there has been a mental shift in certainly in me, but I think in the product in the end. We're making this sim for the community and also in part with the community. That's how I think about it. When you look at the 40th, that's exactly what happened. Asobo did a lot of great work in the base sim. Obviously, helicopters, gliders, all those things wouldn't happen without them. But then content makers can make cool things, like whether it's the A310 or the Beaver or whatever, right? So, and I feel the exact same way about missions. Call us, I mean, we are genuinely interested. I mean, Marco from Perfect Flight has been a wonderful partner, but he's also just one man, and at some point it limits us quite a bit. We have a few others, but yeah, please, if you're interested, we're interested back.
Perfection. And when it came to localization, we also got some great feedback there about some of the translations. Couple of questions we got there is, will localization get a rework in general sometime in the future? Is this something you're looking to do?
So localization is a topic that comes up a lot all the time right now, in part because the pipeline we have is a little bit slower than what we really want. I mean, what we do is we get all the text, whatever it is, and we send it out to our Wloch partner, and they have translators in country. And we actually don't, the way it currently works is really crazy. We don't quite know when the data is coming back. It causes some issues. Like when we just said that about World Update 12, we're sort of in the final moments of finishing everything. Yeah, there's some Wloch stuff missing. And we're all sort of looking at each other like, should we ship without it? And last time we asked you guys this question about Wloch and Marketplace. That was a resounding answer, and we acted on that. So I'm taking a serious look at, do we really want to be in that position? Like, and I would also say this way: aviation, like a long time ago, I was working at EA and with U.S. Navy fighters and stuff. Localization for planes is hard because if the translator has no idea about the tech behind it, they write all kinds of stuff that's crazy, and so we need a localization insight. Aviation insight in our localization pipeline, and that I think is bare bones there. So I know that's maybe you guys think of this as a cop out, but if you could help us, that'd be awesome. Like I would love to send texts out prior to release to make sure that they're accurate, or if you want to go, just write us bugs, because we don't speak. Like the thing is this: we don't speak these languages, and we trust that the translator did their job, and we don't really know. We don't have a way to verify that because we are not from, like, for example, I don't speak Portuguese. I don't know if anybody at Asobo does. So we get some Portuguese. If it's wrong, you know. So
Yeah.
but think about it that way. We are looking at it because of exactly probably what you feel like. We need to get this better, right?
Yeah.
Some stuff is really subpar. So please help
Definitely.
us.
Yeah, and there have been some bugs created in the forums already for some of the Wloch, so thank you for those who've already submitted it, and we appreciate that. Hopefully we'll continue to get more of those, and I think it'd be an interesting solution to see if someday to get people to flight on the Wloch. That might be interesting. Perfect. So we still have another Q&A in a little bit, but we have something that I'd love to get to now. Jorg, I'll let you start this one off.
Yeah, I mean, so it's the surprise. Look at me. Surprise ... iniBuilds what? And then we need a picture.
All right.
Recognize that? Yeah. Okay, we have a quick teaser for you.
We do. Here we go. All right.
Now we have to pick,
Epic.
Jayne. Yeah, we had like a really big surprise, and then we have a smaller surprise. But do you want to do this now? I think we should.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it now. Yeah. Jorg, if you'd like to introduce it, then I'll play everything.
Well, I mean, so we said this a year ago. It was very upsetting when the plane was destroyed, and I remember saying we're gonna remake this in the digital space, but we need help, right? We didn't have much insight or I mean, there's no reference. We couldn't go scan it, those types of things. So in all of our efforts to work through everything with Antonov, they've been really, really helpful to the degree that I think we have a video maybe to show. How do we start this, Jayne? This is improv, folks. There was a chance there would be a live appearance. There is a live appearance, but anyways, let's just maybe roll the video. What do you think?
I will just roll the video.
All right.
Speak for itself. Here we go.
Dear friends, I'm Dmitry Antonov, commander of AN-124 Ruslan and AN-225 Mriya. I have been flying this aircraft for over 25 years, and I have been able to fly this aircraft around almost the entire globe. We delivered hundreds of thousands of tons goods for people worldwide, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, in February 2022, war came to our native land. Ukraine experienced a violent invasion and destruction by the Russian occupiers. It includes the attack to Gostomel, our airfield, and the home base for AN-225. Mriya, the world's largest aircraft, a milestone in history of world aviation and the symbol of strength and creativity of the Ukrainian people, was significantly damaged. Mriya means dream in Ukraine, and the dream cannot be destroyed. We are sincerely thankful for everyone who helped us restore this glorious giant. Microsoft company came to Antonov company with the initiative to revive AN-225 virtually for now. Antonov company grateful assist in the implementation of this idea. Today I am happy to welcome you on board world's largest transport aircraft AN-225 Mriya. They often ask me if such unusual aircraft control differ from the smaller machine piloting. Well, there are no particular differences during the flight. However, the AN-225 crew is quite large. Usually it consists of 6 or 8 specialists each performing their function. Thanks to this, team works as a single indivisible mechanism. The main difference in the management of the MRIA is noticeable when taxiing on taxiways and making turns on taxiways or runways. After all, one must be aware that the cockpit is a height of 4-story building, and when turning, one must consider this wingspan of 88.4 meters. This is football field. However, thanks for the designer of the landing gear, this machine can make U-turn on the area only 56 meters wide. But of course, there are questions of training and using of experience gained. Thanks for Microsoft team, my colleague and I had opportunity to test Microsoft Flight Simulator with AN225 aircraft. I can say with confidence that you will succeed. I sincerely wish you to enjoy the wonderful, unique feeling of height when you're in hand and a powerful, unsurprised bird come to life, which feel so beautiful, light and elegant in the sky. Feel free like fly. Be brave like Ukraine. Mria is coming. Let's revive the dream together.
All right. I don't know if I'm still on, but
Yes.
I don't get jitters often, when I meet people. I meet plenty of big shot people, but I talked to him the other day. Man, the guy, he's a legend. I was so honored. And so he tried to be here today, but I think he's currently flying. But I think we have somebody who can speak to this from the Antonov perspective. Jayne, do we have that?
We do, yes. Welcome, Pavlo. Glad you can join us today.
Hey, my name is Pavlo, and I'm here to greet all of you on behalf of Antonov Company. Sadly, Mr. Antonov is right now on a mission, but I'm really excited to be welcomed in such warm and enthusiastic community. Antonov Company was not represented in Microsoft Simulator before, mostly because of us being, traditionally closed for the internet community. And however, during the war and with all of the help and support by the entire world, we become much more open. And I believe you will see much more surprises in Microsoft Flight Simulator as a result of our new partnership. I hope you will enjoy flying our planes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Pavlo.
joining.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a pleasure. Now we have somebody from iniBuilds. Cameron, are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Awesome.
Well, amazing to be able to work on the Antonov 225. It's probably one of the most legendary aircraft in the world, and we've been able to bring it into the sim. And it's, as people were just saying about before, it's such a unique experience. So I'm going to start by going through the flight deck and just trying to give you an idea of scale. The scale of the plane is just unbelievable. So if I just start to pan backwards here, you can start to see the captain, first officer's seating position. And that's obviously normally where we would end. But we've actually got the engineers panel here, which has got a little bit of a kick out. This 90-degree panel is unique to the 225 as compared to the Ruslan. We've got some engine instruments here, and we also have a dedicated electrical engineer station. This really gives you an idea of the complexity of the aircraft, where this was one person's job just to run the electrical system, which is pretty amazing. If I then pan across to the other side, we've got the navigator station here and the radio operator. Often forgotten, as they say, the radio operator, but he's got an important job. And if I just pan back to the rear of the aircraft, you start to see really the size of this flight deck. It's just so impressive when you see it like this. We've also been able to model this sort of rear passenger area. So we go back here, and this is where the crew would rest. These are actually beds that pull down in flight. So this is where you can rest here, and they're kind of reminiscent of quite a lot of like cross benches, things like this. And what we're going to do now is I'm just going to head downstairs in the aircraft. So this section of the aircraft is the only part that's pressurized. So this door, why it looks pretty robust, is because it has to hold the pressure back in flight. But we can actually head down the ladder just down here and take a look at the massive cargo area. Now, one thing I tend to do when I'm in here that's pretty funny is I kind of end the camera here because it feels like this is your natural head height because it's so big. But actually, it's all the way about here, which is pretty amazing when you just see the scale of this aircraft. It's pretty unbelievable.
Incredible.
You know, this floor here, you might see it's kind of got like you saw it in the trailer, really, really nicely illustrated. It's got a funny color. The first time I saw it, I was like, it doesn't look right. It looks kind of odd, and it's because this is solid titanium, which is pretty impressive. That this whole floor can support up to a payload of 255,000 kilos, which is by far the heaviest load taken by any aircraft. It's almost 100 tons more than the second highest, which gives you an idea of where we're at in terms of weight. So I'm just going to quickly go onto the outside view here. This I've made sure I've calibrated it again. This is kind of the head height for the aircraft. So this is what you would see if you walked up to the 225 during a walk around, and you see we've really tried to capture a fair bit of the detail here. You've got the pitot tubes, angle of attack, and the Antonov livery on the side here. It's got the very unique double bogey at the front, and I know quite a few people say, well, what is the point of that? It's got two reasons. Number one reason is to spread the weight of the plane, because all the airports in the world aren't designed specifically for the amount of weight. So they have to spread it across. So that's why they put those here. And it allows the unique kneeling function, which we'll take a look at shortly. If I just quickly move back here, you can see the 3 engines, so 6 engines in total. These are Motor Sich D18 engines, really powerful, 51,000 pounds of thrust each, which if you're trying to think of an equivalent, it's about the same as the CF6 engine. So in the A310, it's like having 6 engines from the A310 plus a bit more, which pretty impressive. With the landing gear here, you've got the very unique landing gear from Maria. It's these rear 3, which was really nicely illustrated in the trailer as well. They actually steer. So if you move the nose wheel to the right, they will steer to the left in the opposite sense. And this allows proper handling on the ground. And it was something during development. The first time I tried to taxi the plane, I thought, God, it's really hard to taxi. This doesn't seem right. And it's because in the flight model, we didn't have the rear wheel steering set up. And when you set that up in the flight model, it actually is, it's not bad. It's actually pretty maneuverable, to be perfectly honest, for its size, for its actually just pure absolute scale of the airplane. I'm just going to go to the wingtip just to give you an idea of how big this aircraft is. It's such a monster. It's amazing. So one thing we were able to keep in the aircraft is it's a tribute, and also it's an important part of the airplane, is the data plate. Now, the data plate comes on every single aircraft and every single Antonov aircraft as well. And I'll just try and get a little bit closer. And you can see this shows all the information from the aircraft there, and it will be put on the new Maria, they've said, and it's survived. And we've replicated it here on the aircraft as well. Here we have the APU. You might notice I said APU. We have 2. Everything on the Antonov is big. There's more of everything. It's got more batteries, more engines, more everything. So there's one either side, and it's also at ground level, which is unusual, but it makes sense because they're trying to keep the weight as far forward as possible. On the tail, this is very unique. We have the double boom tail. So basically, rather than having the single fin, we've got it on the either side like this, and there's no fin in the middle. I'll move back around this side, and we'll shortly hop back into the cockpit because it's pretty much the same thing on this side. So let me just hop back in quickly and quickly head back upstairs, which does take a while. It takes a while to get everywhere. So I'm just popping my head back through here. The cargo loading we're going to look at now. So I need to turn the power onto the aircraft. So here we've got the batteries. Like I say, there's more of everything in the Antonov. There's 5 batteries. So we're going to put them up into the automatic position, and this connects all 5 batteries up to the aircraft. Just turn on the transformers, and you can probably start to see why this is someone's job. It's pretty complicated. And I'm going to start up the auxiliary power unit quickly now. So one thing that we've done to try and make this a little bit easier to use for people is, if you notice, everything that's tooltipped, it's obviously going to be in its localized language, and everything that it isn't, like the annunciator lights, you can swap between Russian and English. So you can have it in the original, or you can have it in English, so you can actually see what's going on with the aircraft. So I'm just going to start that now and head back forward as well. While that's happening, I will start to try and show something we have here, which is the payload section. So we have different payload options that you can load through here. And on the ground configuration tabs, we can pick different things to load. So we have fire trucks, and these are loads that normally the AN-124, the 225 took. And if you load this in, it actually adds the real weight into the aircraft, which is pretty cool. We've got helicopters, we've got a boiler. This is the heaviest load. This in itself is 183,000 kilos, and they carry quite a few of these. And I'll start opening the main door now. I'll just hop quickly back onto the outside. Now, for the cargo door, if I had this in real time, it would take about 6 minutes, which I think would probably be all the time we have. So we have an option in the EFB that does it fast, which is this mode here. And we have one as well that does it in the real time. So if you want, you can do it either way. But at the moment, this is the fast mode. The sequence goes like this. The forward door comes up. And you can actually, if you see here, it's kind of interesting. You see these little, we call them the ears. I don't know what they're actually called, but they kind of poke out to allow the door to swing all the way back like it does here. And then the next thing we're expecting to do is these little legs will come down, and then the door will drop down. And we'll load the cargo in. And I probably have been talking for too long. I could talk about this aircraft for days, so you'll have to stop me.
I'm sure people would listen to you for days.
I can go on about this plane. It's absolutely it's such an interesting plane to be involved with, because there are these things that, you know, when you look at a Boeing or an Airbus or all these different aircraft, you think, oh yeah, they do it like this. But in the Antonov, it's done a bit different. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just different. And then you start to learn. You go, oh, that's interesting. Okay, that does make sense. And here you go. You can start to, you hear the hydraulic pump kick on, and now the whole aircraft is starting to tilt forwards with the main gear coming down at the front. And you can sort of start to see it happening like that now. And then the ramp will come down shortly. So like they were saying, that you're 4 stories up when you're taxiing this aircraft, but when you're inside the cockpit here, you're actually enclosed completely by the nose, which is kind of interesting. We're expecting this to sort of stop shortly, and then the ramp should start to come down. But there are plenty. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, someone was asking about the sound. It has some awesome sound, but you just can't hear it in today's presentation.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the sounds, we've taken them a lot from real references as well. So you can, there's doors sounds, there's hydraulic pump sounds, there's ones for the APUs. Everything is in there, and it's all a really nice, authentic recording as well.
Awesome.
So now you can see the ramp going up, and we can quickly hop back into the cockpit if I do that now, and just move my camera back down again. So I'll quickly choose a payload. So let's, for example, let's take the train. And if we now pop onto the outside view, you can actually see it's, if I load the cargo now, sorry, on the fire trucks. Oh, I think I may have done something slightly wrong here. Sorry about that. Let me just choose the payloads, load this up here.
I'm seeing a couple great questions. We'll answer those as soon as.
Go ahead. Answer the questions now. I can go through those. Yeah.
Someone's wondering, just like how there was an enhanced edition for the A310, if there going to be an enhanced edition for the AN-225.
From what I understand, no, it's going to be just a single package, which is what you see here. So this is what we'll be offering across every platform.
Okay, nice.
I think that's probably about it, really. I can try and set this to a bit of a nighttime, and we will just show you some of the cockpit ambience we have here, which is really, really great. Because it's such a large working space, you can kind of have a lamp here, and I absolutely love putting up the desk lamp here, and you can just sit there, look back, and it's like a mobile office. It's great.
This is phenomenal. Cameron, thank you so much for this
tour.
Worries. And a really incredible job by you and the iniBuilds team.
Well, before you take off, Cameron, do you want to tell the story about you meeting?
Absolutely.
Antonov?
Yes, we were able to go down and meet Dmitry, and we were able to show them the aircraft as well. So we were able to get feedback from what they thought, what seeing the aircraft, and they really like the aircraft, because it's one of those things where to see it again in the sim is something else as well. And it's always great to be able to get feedback from the people. There's only a handful of people that have flown this in real life, and we were able to meet them, get interactions with them, and get feedback from them directly, which was, I mean, as you said before, he's a legend, and meeting a legend is always a great day.
All right, and then do the fans work?
The fans, that's a great question, and they do. So let's have a look. And it's got a very satisfying animation, if I might add. So the fan control is up here. So this is the fan on the captain's side, and I'll just make it a bit brighter so we can actually see it kind of kick on a little bit better. There we go. So the fans do work, and you can turn them around.
So
cool.
Great addition.
Yeah. There we go.
All right. Well, super. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
both of you. Antonov, for helping. It's been great, and it's we're getting close. So there are a couple of questions that I wanted to address, mostly about date and price and those types of things. So when all this happened about a year ago, remember we did a marketplace sale where some of the proceeds went to help a specific organization in the Ukraine to help with I think families and kids in that particular case. In this case, we were determined to help do something for Maria, which means either rebuild the Maria or commemorate the memory of the Maria. And the way we're going to do this is we're planning on giving the money. So it's a pay-per-plane. I should say it's $20 or $19.90 or whatever, something like that. And we will take zero money. We will send everything to the Ukraine. The plan is to send it to Antonov, and Antonov will commit itself to use that money for the rebuilding of the Maria. That is the current plan. It's not 100% locked. Like the paperwork is not exactly dry, the ink and stuff like that, but that's the intent. And that would make me super proud, because that is preserving. We always say, digital preservation is great and all. In this case, we can actually do something about the real world. So let's just do it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
And then ship date. Yeah. Ship date. Yeah. So somebody smart said something about WASM. That is true. So this plane has WASM in it, which puts it in an interesting situation. So we want to launch the plane on the 1-year anniversary of its destruction in the real world, which is February 27th. But it's WASM, and it's a package. So therefore, the Xbox version, unfortunately, won't be available till March 4th. Sim Update 12, whenever exactly it ships. So we're sort of like, damn, should we wait for the Xbox thing, or should we just ship it on the PC? I feel like we should honor it by releasing it on the day, on the 27th, and then you get the Xbox version when Sim Update 12 is done. That's the current plan.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. So after that announcement, then we have our updated roadmap here.
Oh yeah, so I just filled out some stuff. You will see, it's interesting. So when we met in November, we had the ATR in March, and that has been moved to April, simply because almost unexpectedly, we get to have the Antonov 2 for March, and it fits really well into that, and it's time. So you see, we have now the world updates obviously coming. The Antonov moved into the first slot, which is March 14th. The ATR moved to the next slot, which will be the next world update in April, by the way. And then the Maria is coming, I think, February 27th. But I'll read the chat after all this is done to see what you guys thought.
Okay. Perfect. And with that, we will do our final Q&A. It's been a great stream, so feel free to ask questions. But to start it off, we're going to talk a little bit about the feedback that's been coming in the past week or so on socials and on the forums about the marketplace and the marketplace partnership program, etc. So Jorg, I'll pass it on to you to talk about.
Oh, there's no questions? Oh, okay. Well, so I got 3 different emails. So it certainly worked. The thread was effective in that I got multiple emails from multiple community people saying, "Hey, you need to read this." So I spent a good amount of time reading everything, including some of the old threads. And I just want to talk about it today. But I think it would be best, Jayne, if you have some. I'm not sure if we have any questions. I mean, I can just rattle on.
Yeah, I have some questions, and I'm sure chat does too, so feel free to put those in the chat as well. So first question here, based on the feedback, someone said, will there be an upgraded way to communicate to someone's status in the marketplace partner program, say if it's been several months or years, without knowing if they did the right thing, if they'll ever be accepted or not?
Yeah, I read that, and I read something about transparency, which hit home, immediately hit home, because we're really trying to be as transparent as possible. I mean, with the exception of maybe like some surprises, simply because we're trying to surprise and delight sometimes. And with the Antonov, for example, it was not all super clear that we're going to get it finished by February 27th and all that. But in general, I think we should have a policy of being as transparent as possible. So I saw some things like that in the thread where people said, "Hey, can you show us where things are?" And I think that's completely fair. So this is something. So we spent some time, the manager of the marketplace and the business manager, and I spent a little bit of time this week. We're going to spend some more time going through the specifics and what we can really do. But I like the idea to be transparent. I don't know if we have to get permissions from all the people that submit stuff, but I mean we'll work through it. But anyways, trust me when I say transparency is something that's super important to me. So I will try, or we will try.
Cool. We're excited to see updates on that throughout the year. Another question from the thread was, can an independent developer hope to ever be accepted in the marketplace?
Yeah. No, there's no question. It doesn't really go by size at all. It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. In a similar vein, was there any kind of kinds of products that you look for when accepting new partners as opposed to other types?
So the truth is, there is a little bit. So I have this huge ass spreadsheet. So let's talk about the process. Giuseppe knows this. So I read Giuseppe's posts every day. Giuseppe now at Tech Raptor, by the way, if you don't follow him. But I love that man. He's super, super engaged, and he helps a ton because I have sort of this list of everybody's Facebook and blah, blah, blah. And I spend a bunch of time looking at what people are actually doing. Sometimes they ping me, but Giuseppe does an awesome job summarizing this. And I also look at this MSFS add-ons and FS Elite and a bunch of other sites. And out of that comes an aggregate total. What have people talked about in any shape or form? And then some people don't talk about it publicly at all, and they just send us stuff. And you, by the way, I put this up every week in the development update thingy. I always say unannounced stuff. I don't know if you ever look at this, but there's a section under each category that says unannounced. That is the things that there's just no public mention of it yet, but they gave us a heads up that it's coming. But anyway, so there's this thing that's like, I think it's now 5,000 items long or some such thing. And I do look for things like, for example, when Seb and team were working on helicopters. Yep, for a few years got pinged by people who make helicopters, and they always said the same thing. Hey, when is helicopter support really coming to flight them? So I gave some of those folks a heads up as early as I could. And then did we try to get those helicopters into the marketplace? Yes. Or like approve those people's applications? Yes. Because it was appropriate and timely. So there's a little bit of a prioritization going on. Aircraft, obviously, are very important. And then comes other things after that. We have a sort of a list of things that we think the community is looking for, and we do pay attention to that. So there's some priority.
Okay, awesome. What does the future of the marketplace look like to you?
I think it needs to be the best marketplace that everybody can trust. So for all that, some of you might know we have a little bit of a hacking problem in flight sim community. There's some stuff floating around, and that's mostly a bummer for the third-party developers because they put their heart and soul into these things, and then they just get taken. So I think our store needs to be A, very customer friendly, B, very third-party friendly. So communication needs to be great, and it needs to just be a great service. Which means, and there's a bunch of things that I saw on the thread that certainly they bother me as much as it bothers you. Trust me. Like when I think the updates aren't as fast as they could be, I ask questions. Why is this? Like, what can we do about it? And we are trying to get that all faster, quite frankly. Because I think it's one thing. I think some of you in the chat certainly talked about this. Mm-hmm. If you're a developer and you're working on a plane and you just put it on your website because you have an update that you just compiled the night before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very fast way. I don't think we'll ever be able to really compete with that. That's like, I used to make PC games in the 90s and stuff. Yeah, that was always the easiest way, but you couldn't reach everybody. But it's a completely legit way to release your product. For us, it just takes at least a few days. Now, in our case, it's sometimes a few weeks and sometimes even more, and that is not okay. Mm-hmm. So we go really, really clean this up. And we have some plans. So we talked about this backlog a million times, and I know nobody wants to hear this. I would say the only place where we're really hiring on our side, so Microsoft side, is for the marketplace. So we're hiring developers, we're hiring additional PMs, we hired ourselves more help. But in this case, I think the overwhelming amount of content is just overwhelming. We're at 3,000 add-ons or something. And we have taken it upon ourselves so far to test everything on our own. And that is, just think about 3,000 things. There's only that many humans that we can throw at this. So I think we're really seriously thinking about basically open it up that the developers can test it themselves in a particular safe method. The team has been working on that, and I think that will help a ton. And we will literally just release it. Like, and if something doesn't work, I think the knock-on effect is you can certainly write us an email and complain about it. But we are putting the onus on the developer to make sure that their product works right. So this is in discussion and sort of in the works. But I think that's the only path forward. Because I think about the future. 10,000 things in the store. It becomes untenable. Like, it's not like Amazon testing everything that's on Amazon. It's not possible.
Yeah.
But we tried, and I think to some degree it delayed things. It's sort of like last week. Last week. Last time we talked, I asked, "Hey, should we wait for Wloch?" You all said no, and we stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Right away. Some planes. I read something about the Wilga. That came in, and I frankly, actually, the developer sent me a free version, so I was flying it, and I'm like, God, why is this thing not in the store? And it was with the package that came in, I think, December 7th, and we had just made that switch to the let's not wait for Wloch. But I think that now, and this is a great plane, by the way, that plane is coming now. But that won't happen again. So Wloch is no longer a thing we're waiting for. Nice. And now it's all about testing time.
Yeah. Okay. Another question I saw in chat: once WASM is implemented on Xbox, what do you expect? How long do you think it'll take to see some of those WASM products being added to the marketplace?
A big priority. So we have a priority stack, by the way. So how do we make release priorities? So we can release roughly 100 things a week in a good week with the team we have. The first thing that we release is updates to existing aircraft. The second thing is updates to existing anything else. Because aircraft, sometimes there's actual real functionality bugs, or people have been waiting for something. It seems there's sort of an urgency that I sense. So we're like, okay, let's get the aircrafts out first. Then comes the updates to the next other products. Then comes the aircraft, and after that kind of comes everything else. And I read a lot about the quality, that people say, hey, why don't you prioritize high quality, very well-known developers that put out high-quality things. And as some people pointed out, even in the chat, it's kind of a slippery slope, because all of a sudden you render judgment on somebody else's work. I will spend a few nights sleep over this, honestly, and talk to the team, and we all need to do we really want to change that? Maybe. But again, so that's like the one that you did help, because I get the perspective. As I said, it's like reading a good book, right? You're like, okay, it's interesting thoughts. So please share your thoughts.
We'll do a couple more questions. I saw one about where is prioritization for those who want to join the program but offer high quality freeware that PC players get?
Oh, I've said that forever, that I really want freeware. It's just sort of like on top of the little hill that we have to work through. There would be more things. It's probably embedded in the same conversation about what's really important to the community. Because that's really what the store is for. It's for y'all. That's why we made it. There's lots of people. I mean, there's many of you that buy, and you should, where you always buy at the websites of the developer and whatnot, right? It's cool. This was for people that they're not that deep in the hobby, or they're new. It's just convenient. I think you get the Xbox thing for free, which is cool. So it's supposed to be a service for the community, and it needs to be. So when we get feedback that people are not really all that happy with either the layout, it's hard to find stuff, or this, that, or the other. Yep, that's the same to me as somebody saying, the thermals aren't quite right. It's very much related. It's part of the product, and it needs to be great.
Is there a future in the marketplace where we will improve the rating system, whether that's written or some additional sections for rating different areas of the product? Is that something you were going to work towards?
There's some. We just talked to PlayFab this morning, which is sort of the back end we're using for some of this.
Yeah.
They're working on some features that I think would be useful. In general, like the whole, do we want to let people type in text and potentially review bomb stuff? There's some thoughts on that. But I in another thread I read that people thought that the Xbox store is really cool. So there's things to be learned. So we reached out there. I do think that we need to. I mean, across the board, we need to make improvements. There's no other way to say it. Across the board, process, discoverability, security. All these things are true. But like I got the thing that actually what stuck with me the most is that people thought we're not listening, and that is totally untrue. Like, so I can tell you, there's a bunch of people working on the store. It's complicated, and it gets to us, right? When people don't like what they see, and it's like, okay, you want to go fix it right away. But we're as dedicated to making the store great as we're making the sim great.
Last question. Are you able to comment on the current conversation about the current queue of releases? What's being done to unclog the pipeline and regain the trust of your partners?
Yeah, we're hiring. I mean, as I said, that's one brute force solution into going through this. I mean, I have the list in front of me, what's currently on the backlog. It's a little bit, I can tell you what it is. 776 total products. I want to be totally transparent. 84, I'll read it. 84 aircraft, 22 are new on PC, 34 are new on Xbox, 15 updates on PSC, 13 updates on Xbox. And it goes to every single category. And those are the things we focus on, right? We said we have a priority list of releases. That's probably debatable. If you have things to say to the debate, please let me know. Write it down somewhere. I'll read it. But it goes existing aircraft first, because people already bought it and they deserve to get the updates as fast as possible. Then the existing other products, because they already bought it. New airplanes, because people are really, oftentimes, maybe that's too broad a statement, but oftentimes people are really jazzed. I remember the Wilga, I was talking with a bunch of friends about it. So I think that's next, and then comes new non-aircraft products. If that's somehow not what you think is right, just go write some comments. Either here, because I'll always read the log at the end of our sessions, or put it in the chat on the forums.
Perfect. All right, Jorg, thank you for being so transparent and answering those questions about the marketplace. We appreciate it. And to all our guests that we had on stream, thank you for joining us. Chat, thank you for being here. We had a great time. Seb and Marcial, thank you for answering questions. Seb for sharing about thermals and turbulence. Marcial for answering so many questions about airports. We will be back soon, but for now, we hope you enjoy your week, and please enjoy the Aircraft Avionics Update 1. We'll be around on this stream on Friday, of course, for our community fly-in Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific. We will see you there. Have a great day, everyone. Great night. See you later.
Bye, y'all. Have a great 2023. Whee!
Bye.